We have to admire the courage of Ukraine. This time Ukraine is going to do something that is almost impossible. What is going on? That is to deprive Russia of its veto power in the Security Council. In a speech delivered at the United Nations a few days ago, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky bitterly criticized Russia's aggression in Ukraine and demanded that the United Nations seek justice and deprive Russia of his power in the Security Council. Zelensky said that the veto power in the hands of the aggressors has brought the United Nations into a stalemate. It is impossible to stop the war because all efforts have been vetoed by the aggressors and those who condone the aggression. Moreover, he also believed that Russia's veto power originally belonged to the Soviet Union. Unfortunately, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Russia illegally occupied a seat on the Security Council. What does this mean? The original seat on the Security Council belonged to the Soviet Union. This seat of the Soviet Union was illegally stolen by Russia. Therefore, Russia should be deprived of its seat on the Security Council and its veto power should be removed. Russia is now recognized around the world as one of the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. But in Ukraine's view, this was illegal theft. We have to look back at this history. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, who would inherit the Soviet Union's permanent seat on the Security Council was indeed a focus issue. Yeltsin first put pressure on the CIS countries, demanding that this permanent seat on the Security Council must be inherited by Russia. At that time, the top priority of the CIS countries was to ensure independence, and they did not raise any objections. Britain and France were the first to express their support for Russia's inheritance rights. The United States was hesitant at first, but in the end, it also clearly expressed its support for this inheritance. After all, Russia is the strongest among the countries after the collapse of the Soviet Union. From the perspective of the world structure, this is also the most reasonable. Although the process was a bit bumpy, the problem has already been properly resolved. Because of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, Ukraine stated that Russia's inheritance of the Soviet Union's Security Council seat was illegal. Previously, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine even proposed that the United Nations should deprive Russia of its permanent seat on the Security Council and expel Russia from the United Nations. Russia can rejoin the United Nations, just like other countries applying to join now. If it abides by the United Nations Charter, then the United Nations General Assembly can vote to agree. In this regard, we have to admit that the Ukrainian idea is very good. We can understand that this is a public opinion offensive. Ukraine wants to strike at Russia in this way to open a second battlefield in the United Nations. Well, can Ukraine expel Russia from the Security Council? The answer from the United States is simple: I want to do this too, but I really can't. Russia's answer is more directly: this is absolutely impossible. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that the veto is a completely legitimate tool under the UN Charter, the purpose of which is to prevent wrong decisions from being made. In the end, we have only one conclusion about the big thing that Ukraine is going to do: this is absolutely an impossible task.